this leads into the second point we've got,
okay.
which is to be a team player.
Yeah.
In a lot of fantasy literature, we read about the exceptional individual. People like Achilles or Conan the Barbarian. But in a role-playing game, you are not going to be the one true hero. You are going to be part of a team, and that means... Usually. I'm very excited for the new Beowulf RPG, in which you are the one great hero.
Yeah. But that's designed for
but
one
that is
person.
designed explicitly for one-on-one.
One GM, one player, yeah.
But most of the time, you are going to be part of a team working with other people. And so you have a responsibility to the other characters and the other players at the table.
Yeah, make sure everyone gets screen time as much as possible.
Make sure to talk to everybody else at the table.
Or it's also okay if you're comfortable playing the sidekick, then you can sort of be the person who's the team player who lets other people have the screen time and helps other people achieve their goals.
My favorite character that I have ever played as was a halfling, and he had his personal goals, which was basically just to see really interesting places, and he had a book and he'd write them down. And so it meant whenever we went somewhere interesting, I had something that I could do. I had a motivation. I wanted to see interesting things. But my other motivation was that I would talk to the other players, talk to the other characters, and I would find out what they wanted to do. And then I would actively try to make that happen. And so I remember we rocked into a town. The town had no lord. One of the characters in the party was an ex-noble who wanted to re-establish their family. And I said, right, we are going to win you the lordship of this town. We're putting you in the elections. You are going to be our candidate. And he had so much fun. And I had a really good time just helping him achieve his goals.
Yeah, I think for me, the time that I played a sort of sidekick character, sidekicks may be a bit strong, but one of our most recent big campaigns that you did that took like over a year to play with, was it 6 other people in it? I played the sort of heir of the family. I was supposed to be the one in charge, but all my little sisters and brothers, they all had like these big personal dramas going on. And James would sort of say to me, like, do you have any goals? Do you have any big personal dramas? And it's like, you know what? We have a big sort of family quest that we're trying to...
plot.
Yeah, like the actual meta plot. As the heir, that probably should be my main focus. I don't need to have like a big personal drama. I don't need to have like, a marriage subplot or something. Let's just go with, I'm driving us towards the collective goal. I don't need to have the big screen time. And you sort of looked
after the others as well.
I looked after the others. I made sure, where I could to help with their little side plots and stuff. Yeah. It was fun and it felt like the right thing to do for that character because that's what she'd been trained for her whole life, to lead the family. But leading in a helpful way. It's good to have your moment in the spotlight,
but it's also good to step back. Not just step back and let other people have their moment in the spotlight, but to actively
help
other people get their moment in the spotlight. You don't have to have a positive relationship with the other characters at the table. But you should talk to the other players if you're going to have some sort of negative relationship.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And make sure that they are comfortable with it. I can think of a game in which one of the characters had a crush on another character at the table. And when that crush went unrequited, it turned into a sort of a hatred.
Yeah.
But the players didn't talk about it, and it got really unpleasant and uncomfortable.
It got really toxic.
And we had to... Well, actually, the character in question died off to a horrible critical hit to the face before, just as we were realizing that this was going wrong.
Yeah.
But it was just a really uncomfortable situation for everyone involved. Whereas I remember actually the same player had a moment earlier, and he had an earlier character who was a bit of a schemer, and he had one time where he basically betrayed the party to save his own skin. But he said to everybody, this is what's going on, this is what I'm doing. He got the blessing of the party to do it, and we all cheered him on as he was a conniving 2-bit scumbag.
It was great.
Trying to save his own skin.
Yeah.
And I think the difference was that it was with the input and the cooperation of the whole table, knowing that this was purely an in-character thing.
So the thing is, like, you're all presumably adults. I mean, maybe some of you are teenagers playing role playing games. Everyone at that table is there. This is like a hobby, this is people trying to have fun. And if you are doing things that are making people uncomfortable, you're basically bullying other people and they're not having fun. And that's just not fair. Like, you're also putting the onus on the GM to try and, unpick the social situation. And that's not fair because they sort of turn into like a teacher at that point, right? And you shouldn't have to manage other adults' behavior. Nobody wants to do that.
Manage your social group's behavior.
Yeah. You don't want to
These are your
have
friends.
to. Exactly. You don't want to have to be the parental figure in your peer group. Make it fun. And so just talk through anything slightly sort of edgelordy that you want to do.
So we've said some examples of the sort of stereotypical fantasy characters. Who do you think are good examples of the sorts of teams or team players that you could base a character on in fiction and movies and literature?
I think that Merry and Pippin are really good team players.
I think the Hobbits generally are.
The Hobbits, like Sam is probably the best.
Sam is the best
the
character.
Sidekick.
He's got his personal thing that he's interested in. He wants to go see the elves, and he's interested every time he sees an Oliphant or something.
Yeah.
But he is purely interested in. Oh, he's got his own personal plot and his own characters and Rosie Cotton.
But it's the sort of personal plot that will get like fulfilled. It's not counter to the meta plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his main motivation is helping the other characters with what they've got going on.
Yeah.
He's got his own little specialties, and so he can always make the fire and do the cooking and look for cooking ingredients, but he's always there to support the other characters in what they're doing. Merry and Pippin are great examples as well.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, they're slightly odd because they go off and do their own thing for quite a while.
I feel like if you were role-playing that, I feel like it would just be something that sort of happened on accidental. I don't think they would have done that on purpose, If we're DM of the Rings.
If you haven't checked out DM of the Rings, it's a wonderful webcomic which imagines that Tolkien is a really bad GM who railroads his players through the plot of the books. I think the Guardians of the Galaxy are an excellent example of a team. And they don't always get along.
That would have to be something where they'd be talking behind the scenes about, like, now obviously my character would do this and your character would do that. How can we force them together? Maybe the GM would say at that point, like, don't worry, you're going to get into like an asteroid field, so you're not going to be able to like
I
walk
feel
off.
like they don't always get along, but they are family.
That's
the entire theme of the movie. And like how sometimes you'll argue with your family members.
I mean, look at how they got together, right? They were all fighting and then they all got arrested. So like that was a good thing of the situation, putting them together. I think there would be a lot of negotiation in that.
Yeah, there's a lot of tension in their relationships, but there's also a lot of empathy and love between the characters. Yes, probably Star-Lord's had more screen time so far as they've been focusing on his personal plot, but I feel like they all pull their weight and they've all got their screen time and they all support each other and let each other have attention.
I would 100% be Drax, wouldn't I? If we were this role-playing party, I would be Drax.
Yeah.
I'm always the comic relief character.
I feel like Drax is the example of the character who says, no, I'm good. I don't really need my own screen time.
Yeah.
I am just happy spending time with my friends, making some jokes. As long as I get to jump down a monster's throat every so often, I'm happy. One other archetype that I think that's great to talk about here, talking about being a team player, a lot of people want to be the badass loner. And we've all seen them. It's, I want to be Batman. I want to be Boba Fett. I don't want to talk. I don't play well with others. Oh, and this is a terrible character for a role-playing game. But I want to flip that on its head. I feel like they can actually be a really good character. So if you look at, I'm going to use Wolverine as my example. Wolverine is one of the stereotypical badass loner characters. He doesn't play well with others. He's the best at what he does, but what he does isn't nice. Don't be the badass loner who doesn't want a family. Be the badass loner who's looking to make the connections, even if they don't admit it.
Which again is something you can talk about out of character. You can say, I'm going to act all bristly in character and stuff, but I actually am playing on the same board as you.
Look at Han Solo. He says he's all in it for the money, but every single time when the chips are down, Han Solo is there and he's got everyone's back. Look at Wolverine. Wolverine says he's not interested in joining the X-Men, but he's always taking the younger X-Men under his wing and mentoring them. He even winds up becoming headmaster of the school at one point.
I bet he hated that.
Oh, I bet he did too. Be the badass loner who wants to be part of something bigger.
Or gets dragged into it. You can negotiate that sort of thing out of character.
Yeah. Even Batman, who I think is probably the most archetypal badass loner who works alone.
Has Robin.
Has Robin.
Has Batwoman.
Has
Catwoman.
Nightwing, Catwoman.
Alfred.
Bat Dog.
Bat Dog, seriously. Why have I never seen Bat Dog in all of the Batman that I've read?
I think he's called Ace the Bat Hound.
How have I not? Oh my god. Okay. I learned something
There was
tonight.
a thing with DC where they tried to have the super animals.
Aww.
And so there was a super horse. I think she was Supergirl's.
Okay.
Anyway. Yeah, Batman has never been alone. He's always worked well with others.
That's true.
And it's only certain interpretations of the character that want to make him look more isolated.
Yeah.
And even then, if you take The Dark Knight, which is probably the most iconic portrayal of Batman to a mainstream audience today, he works with Jim Gordon and the police. He works with Harvey Dent. He wants to be in a relationship with Rachel. He's looking for all of these relationships.
Yeah.
And of course, Alfred the whole time, and Lucius Fox. Batman has never been a solo act and has always worked well with others.
Yeah, totally. Okay.
And his best friend is Superman.